Hello and welcome to the most incredible marketing show ever. We're live today on YouTube, and I'm with my friend Dan Criggs, fellow marketing expert and certified independent business advisor for Dan Kennedy, also known as the Been There, Done That marketing coach. So thanks, Dan, for being here again.
Well, thank you for having me. I enjoyed the last episode. I hope a lot of folks got to see that.
Yeah, in on last week on episode 32, we did Dan Kennedy's No BS Rules for Marketing Success, which can be found in Dan's book No BS Direct Marketing for Non-Direct Marketing Businesses. And we covered 1 through 5, and I was surprised we could only get through 5, but there's so much connected to it and the reasons why. But let's just recap what those were. Those rules were. Number one was there must always be an offer or offers. Can you, in just 1 or 2 sentences, explain why that's true?
Well, because you want to know what the results of your ads are and you want to let people know that they can buy. American consumers like to buy. We
Yeah.
have to give them an opportunity to do that.
Yeah, and it's the purpose of an advertisement is to sell something, whether it's selling them on taking an action or selling them a product or service. So, excellent. Next one was there must always be a reason to respond right now. Why is that?
Well, today's consumer especially is so busy. They have so much going on. If you give them an opportunity to put it off, they'll put it off and never come back. The
Yeah,
other thing is you need business now.
right.
Most people I know that put ads out don't say, well, let me put this out and hope I get something 2 or 3 months down the road.
Yeah, amen to that. Number 3 was you must give clear instructions on how to respond.
Well, it's that old thing, Craig, that you've heard, never assume. And
Right.
never assume that people know what you know or know what you're thinking a lot of times. And so we have to be very clear on exactly what we want them to do, give them clear instructions. If they get stuck anywhere because we didn't give them clear instructions, they'll bail and
Yeah.
you lost them.
The other part of that is what to expect when they call. So, hey, when you call this number and ask for Julie or Judy, right? She's going to ask you a few questions before you get started. Just give them a reason and understanding of what's going to happen along the way.
Right.
Um, Next one was there must be tracking, measurement, and accountability.
Well, and so this is so important because if you don't know, if you're not tracking what your ads are doing and the results you're getting, there's no, if you have someone else doing it for you, if you're doing it yourself, you don't know if your money's being wasted or not. Just
Right.
a real quickie. I was on a conversation with a potential client earlier this morning. Said he spent $1,900 last month on Google AdWords. $1,900, not bad. I said, so how many jobs did you get out of it?
Right.
Uh, I don't know.
Right.
Now, he reported 12 new customers for last month. If all 12 of those came off of those ads, which we know they didn't,
Right.
okay, he spent $175 a lead. That may be good for some businesses.
Right.
The point is, he didn't know.
Right.
Should he
Yeah.
go spend $1,900 again?
Right.
It,
That's a excellent point. Next one was whatever brand building that occurs will be a happy byproduct, not bought. Why is that so important for the small business owner?
because most small business owners that I know can't afford to spend, in a lot of cases, waste money. They need to get results for all that hard earned money that they're putting into those ads. They need to be able to see results. And most can't afford to spend the money it takes on brand building. It takes time and money to do brand building.
Right. And if they have a good USP, a unique selling proposition in their ads, and they're omnipresent and they're advertising on a regular basis, that branding is going to happen anyway.
Right. It'll be a
Excellent.
byproduct.
Be byproduct. So that brings us to number 6 today, which is there must be follow up. Holy moly. I've heard the fortune is in the follow up. What do you think about that?
Oh, you're talking to the guy here. I'm huge on follow up, and Dan Kennedy's original partner, Pete Lillo, is constantly touting me as the follow up guy because he's seen in a lot of cases. I have clients that I brought to the Elite Gold Crown Group, and it took 15 follow-ups to get them there.
Yeah.
Okay. And, years ago, Craig, when we started, it was a 3-step mailing, right? So basically the mailing and 2 follow-ups. Today, that's nowhere near enough. It's just not. I'm finding a minimum of 12 and as many as 15 across multimedia when it comes to following up.
Yeah. I remember one, let's talk about like a sequential campaign. Dan's magnetic marketing kit teaches that, and he says he based that on learning it from the collection agencies mailings. And so he has the what's the name of that mailing that he does, the famous restaurant?
Oh yeah, Giorgio letters.
Giorgio. I was going to say Mario, but same Giorgio letters. But excellent examples of how to follow up until and saying, hey, I sent you this letter a week ago. Did you get it? By the way, here's the offer again. Hey, I've sent you 2 letters. Here they are attached to this letter. Let me sum it up again. And then the last one, the 4th one, was your final offer, right? This is the final notice. But I remember when I went to the super conference, I don't know if it's the super conference, I think, when Gene Simmons was out there, and they were competing for Marketer of the Year, and Chris Hearn, who we know in that world, had 56 steps in his campaign, 56 steps, and he was adding to it all the time.
Oh, and yeah. So
what does that mean? That means that you market until they take action or they say, stop mailing me, right? And so many people just do 1 or 2 things. Most do 1, but at second best is, they do 1 more. And that's not enough in this day and age, especially with so much media coming at you, right? It's like, hey, I got this thing in the mail. I'm going to put it down. I intend to look at it again. I intend to act on it, but I'm going to put it down. And then they forget about it because they're bombarded with so much other media, right?
Right. And not only that, life happens.
Right.
And a lot of them mean to do it, and then boom, something happens in their life, in their family's lives, where they get distracted for a day, a few days, a week. We know how that can be, and those things just happen. And I'll share with you a kind of a little bit of an extreme follow-up. I had a client out in Washington State a few years ago. We did a campaign for him, and we started it off with a mailing, and then we followed up by a multimedia. Craig, that worked so well that we continued to follow up for over 6 months.
Yeah.
And every time we would send a follow-up, he would get business out of it. Every time. Sometimes it was more than others, but it was more, his return on investment every time we did it was 20, 30 to 1.
Right.
And so at one point he said to me, well, when are we going to stop doing this? And I said, when we stop getting results.
Right. I forget who said it. It might have been Jay Abraham or something, but he said life is a moving parade. And that means that life is happening, like you just said, right? Life is happening. And maybe they need it, but they don't need it right now as much as they might need it 6 months or a year from now. So when Chris Hearn's doing 56 mailings, that's probably 1 a week, right? That's a year.
Yeah.
I mean, I did that when I started up our local chapter and I started a mastermind group. I mailed to these people who were Dan Kennedy students who were not responding. And I'm like, what's going on? But I kept on sending them the newsletter, and inside the newsletter was an offer. And it only took, the first mastermind wasn't good for them. The second one I did focused on info marketing. That like, holy crap, that's exactly what they were looking for, because they didn't know who was in the first group, which was general business members, small business owners. But the info marketing group was something that they really looked for and they wanted. And so I marketed until I found an offer, or they saw an offer that was right for them. So never give up on your customers just because they haven't taken action. If they're ideally suit for you, and you know who your perfect customer is, keep mailing until, right?
Yeah, and Craig, it goes back to that old saying, and maybe this will stick with some people listening. No doesn't necessarily mean no.
Right.
It just means not right now. Right. And if you keep that in mind, it makes it easier to follow up. Like you were just saying, sometimes it's a timing issue.
Right.
You got to be there at the right time.
Amen. Amen. All right. Next rule. This one's a good one. There will be strong sales copy, not vague hyperbole. What does that mean?
So you can't just throw general copy out there. You need it to be strong copy. And for those watching this and listening to it, if you don't have the ability to do that, get someone to do it. It will pay dividends for you big time. And so use your copy to connect with people emotionally. If you can do that, that's the gold standard, is to be able to connect with people emotionally. And strong copy will help you do that. Hyperbole will basically just leave people hanging and leave it to their own devices to try to figure out what you're looking for, or to get them to respond. So it has to be strong. I'll give you one example, and you can even use your copy, if you use it, good, strong copy, to attract exactly who you want. There's a radio ad in town here. I don't know if you get it where you're at. And it starts out, a guy is selling life insurance, and how it's difficult to get life insurance if you have diabetes, high blood pressure, blah, 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 blah. And he goes through, and his tagline is, Big Lou's like you, he's on meds too. Okay. So he has a specific audience he's going to, those high risk people, which means he makes more money on it. And then he promises that Big Lou will find a insurance for you because he understands you. He is you.
Right.
And that has stuck with people, and it's ran for a couple of years because it works for them. And that's what I mean by strong copy. Okay. If you can put in your copy something that relates to the person you want to attract, you're hitting the mark.
Yeah, some people might be saying, I don't have time to become a copywriter or whatever. Dana says if you can't sell one-on-one, door to door, don't try to write sales copy, but you can learn it, right? I mean, he's written one of the best books that we've ever seen, the Ultimate Sales Letter book, which gives you the fundamentals of how to write good copy. And if you read that and you study it, and mine, I have all 4 editions, mine, all highlighted and notes taken and everything, you can write good copy. But, if you can't, you can go to Fiverr, you can go to, I forget what the names of the sites are now, but guru.com and stuff like that. You can find copywriters to help you write in affordably, considering, the investment that you're putting into selling a product or service. It's worth it, especially if it works over and over and over again.
Exactly right.
All right. Next rule. In general, it will look like a mail order ad. Mail order, what is that all about? And who said that? Do you remember who said that first? David Ogilvy.
I know who said it.
David Ogilvy.
Yes.
He goes,
yes.
We can all learn something from the mail order people.
Yes. And for a lot of people watching this, they have no idea what we're talking about. But basically, the big premise of mail order was you really had to work to get people to respond, because they got basically a little coupon in a newspaper or a magazine ad. They had to fill that out, address an envelope, put a stamp on it, include a check, and send it back. So you were really basically, because there was no other way at the time, making them jump through several hoops. Okay. But for me, what I take away from that is you have to get as much information from them as possible to be able to add to your list, so that you can then follow up with them, okay, via mail, via email, via text message, whatever it may be. And with mail order, you have to be specific about how you want them to respond. And mail order would say, this is the address, put your check in the envelope with this coupon. Okay, they were very specific, and mail it out today. Okay, and so I've seen where some people just want people to respond and maybe just get an email. Mail order forces you to get more info, and I'll tell you something that I've done to be able to do that is if I've offered sometimes I have certain special reports that I offer. And I tell people, you have to put all your information in. This is so valuable. I don't want it out on the internet. So I will not email it. I
Right.
will only mail it to you. And I'm willing to spend the 70 cents, for the postage and do it. But you have to give me your information.
Right.
And now I'm collecting a mail database.
Yeah. One thing about mail order ads, they are written like stories. So they're written like advertorials. If you don't know what an advertorial is, it looks like an editorial that's also an advertisement. So it's meant to get you to read and follow a story. And it's very, very well done, very well structured. If you follow any copywriters like Claude Hopkins, David Ogilvy, John F. Kennedy, not John F. Kennedy. John F. Kennedy was president. John Kennedy, the copyright, Google John Kennedy copywriter. You will see a lot of ads, and I can't remember all the names of the copywriters off the top of my head. But if you want a list of copywriters, type copywriters in the comments here on YouTube, and we'll send it to you directly. But there's something to learn. If you want to be a good copywriter, study copywriting. If you want to be a good salesperson, study sales, as Dan always says, right? If you want to be great at something, study it, right? Don't just assume that, hey, I picked up this book that I heard about. No, become a serious student about it. And
Yeah.
But mail orders are done very, very well. They're written in story form or editorial form to almost trick the person into believing that it's not an ad, but it is an ad, and it guides them through a slippery slope to fill out this little coupon that you had to tear out of the paper, pop in an envelope, handwrite the address, and then put a live stamp on it and put it in the mail, and then wait a few weeks for them to respond, right?
Yeah.
But this can be done on the internet as well. It can be done on email, it can be done in blogs, it can be done on social media. So don't dismiss it because it's an old concept. It's a fundamental concept which works in all types of ads.
That's exactly right. And in the case where I was just mentioning, where people want this free report, they're getting there online.
Right.
They're finding that online. Okay. Maybe social media, maybe an email, maybe my website. However, then I switch them over by telling them I will not send it to them digitally.
Right.
So you're absolutely right. Don't discount it. And I'll tell you a place where it really came into play. And you've heard me talk about this before. The chiropractor who was a client of mine in Amish country that we took from 0 to 2.1 in a year. Right. They don't have internet. They don't have social media. So there were a few publications down there that we really had to make work.
Right.
Okay. Because that's how we drove it all. That and referrals, word of mouth type stuff. So there are still places where it's being used a lot.
Yeah. At least the format and structure is being used a lot. So,
yeah.
Excellent. All right. That brings us up to number 9. Results rule, period. What does that mean?
Yeah. So, again, you're hitting home with the right guy. That's the reason I named my marketing company Results Marketing. That exact reason right there. And I want to give people the impression right out of the bat that results are what it's all about. And that's what I'm all about when I'm working with them, is getting them results. And that's all that really matters. Okay. Are the results you're getting from your marketing, and you have to be able to know what they are. And that's why, there's these other rules that you have to have an offer. How can you get any kind of results if you don't have an offer? Okay. You have to track so you know what the results are. So that all comes down to those types of things. And it's important that you don't just put the things in there, but you pay attention. So I'll give you an example. I made this mistake myself. Okay. And thank goodness for me and my education from Dan Kennedy before I even became an IBA. I had a retail business. I put an ad on the back of a register tape. We've all seen those, right? And my goodness, they were coming in. I was getting a ton of them. And I got to a point, and we probably all fell into this at times. I'm going, I don't have to do any other marketing. This is it. I hit the mother load. I was getting so many of them. Well, after a while, and fortunately for me, I collected them and tracked them, but I wasn't looking at the numbers. for a little while. Okay. I had gathered the information, but didn't pay attention. Well, when I went and looked, the offer was a $17 offer. The average spend was just under $18. Well, this was a loss leader I was doing. So that wasn't the goal. The goal was to get them in and have them spend more money. The other thing that I tracked was how many of them were new customers versus repeat customers.
Mhm.
So the other thing that I found out as I was doing this was over 9 out of 10 were my customers going and getting the receipt to get this discount and coming in. And the goal of the whole thing was to bring in new customers that I didn't have access to.
Right.
So I changed. I stopped that once I realized what I was doing. I was just spending money to give my customers a discount. Right? I could do that other ways,
Right.
a lot less expensive, and make them happier. So I went to another ad where the offer was almost double, same offer, almost double, got less responses, but the average spend on this new one was a little over $100.
Wow.
Yeah, but so it's all about the results. Okay. Yeah. And like I said, because of I paid attention to the results, I stopped the first one and put that money into something else that got me better results.
That's awesome. That's awesome. How can we talked about accountability and everything, but tell me again how people can measure results, whether they're getting results or not. Because what a lot of people do is if they're not getting results right away, well, they say, well, at least I'm branding. Talk about that a little bit.
So again, branding is expensive, okay? And most small business owners need the income. They need the business, okay? And so that can't be what it's about. It has to be about the results of what you're getting. And here's the other thing, Craig, and you know this too. Sometimes if you're paying attention to your results and they're not what they should be, sometimes it's a small tweak. Right. And you can turn that around. In emails, we see changing the subject line can make a huge difference. Okay. If it's a sales letter, whether it's online, offline, or whatever, the headline can make a huge difference. Our call to action can make a huge difference. So I've had clients that came on board with me and they go, oh, I don't know about this marketing thing. I tried it and it doesn't work.
Right.
And I say, send me what you have. Send me what you've used. I can make a couple of tweaks to it a lot of times, not always. And boom, the result. What'd you do? That never worked for me. Why does it work for you? Because you left out. I've had folks who sent ads out, paid to mail them out, and never had a way to respond. No phone number. Right. No phone number in their ad. No email, no nothing. And they didn't even realize that had happened. Right. And so if you're not getting the results, let's find out why. Either it's the media, it's your offer, whatever. There's a number of different things it can be, but it has to be about results. I don't know about you, but I don't want to spend $500. I don't want to spend $100.
Right.
Unless I feel like I'm going to get a response and a sale out of it.
Amen. Amen. Good points. All right, we're on our last one, and this was kind of added after the fact, after we were, our early days of IBA, but it's, you must be a tough-minded disciplinarian and put your business on a strict direct marketing diet. What does that mean?
So here's the thing, and you mentioned it, we talked about a little bit at the end of the last show. You may not be able to do all 10 of these, right? Okay? But you want to do as many as you possibly can and resist that urge to do big company marketing and do that brand market. It's really cool that you're asking this. Yesterday, I have a new client in Amish country. I'm getting a bit of a rep there, right? And they had someone do an ad for them. All right. And the top of the ad, it's a car repair place. Top of the ad was a big picture of a really cool car. Okay. That does nothing. that's prime real estate, right?
Right.
The top of the page. And they had a picture of a cool car. It wasn't even their car, a car in their business, anything. It was just a cool looking car. And I said, that's a major sin. Get that out of there. That cannot be. So, and that's what I mean about resisting the urge. Because a lot of times we get graphic designers and they want to make your ad look cool.
Right.
We want to make your ad work and produce results. And the best way to do that is to implement as many of these rules as we possibly can. And so when he says go on a strict diet, and Craig, I won't speak for you, but every now and then I have to look at something that I'm doing and go back to the rules and go, oh, geez, I left this out.
Yeah. Yeah. Use it as a checklist. You know, this is the one that you sent me from your chapter meeting, right? And have it set up like right next to you while you're writing. Take it out when you write. Mine is in my No BS Direct Marketing for Non-Direct Marketing Professionals. You know, it's always there. But, you know, part of being a tough-minded disciplinarian is don't think of just implementing them. Think of living these principles. If you live it, then it becomes natural. Like, hey, I need a good headline instead of a car at the top. Hey, I need a call to action, offer or offers. Hey, I need a reason to respond right now. Hey, I need this. And we said last week, if you just use 1, 2, 3, 4, any number of them, you're going to be far ahead of most other small business owners trying to market the same product or service that you have. But, you know, you can almost grow exponentially or get exponential results if you just have the checklist with you when you're writing that copy, you know, when you're writing those offers and writing those marketing pieces.
That's a great idea, Craig, because it's easy to go down and look at your copy and not even realizing you're not doing something or you're leaving it out. And sometimes it might be really critical. And the other thing I wanted to add on to that you said, you want to live it.
Right.
You know, I know you speak and I speak in front of groups. When I speak, I want to make a sale in most cases. Okay. So these rules need to come into effect. Okay. When I'm doing something on social media, when I'm doing something online, you got to live it. And so, and again, if you start out and you can do 3 of them, you're going to be ahead. But work yourself up, have that list close by, like you said, and implement as many as you can. In some cases, you'll find it's not that hard. You just have to go back and look at it and look at what you're sending out, however you're sending it. Great place to implement these are on landing pages.
Yeah. Amen.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, unless they're going to chamber events or networking events or things, they're not thinking, or if they do direct mail, because a lot of people think direct mail is dead. That is the most untrue statement I've ever heard. But there are a lot of people like that. So, all right, then use it in your emails, use it in your landing pages, use it on whatever you're doing in your videos, for crying out loud, right? You got to have a call to action. You got to use these principles in everything you do that promotes something you want to sell. So,
yeah. And I used it. I meant it to be an instructional, but it ended up being very good in another way, for a networking event where you have the booth set up and all that. And I had people saying to me, oh, those don't work. We don't get much. I said, okay. So I decided to kind of show them with what I was doing. And it turned out, Craig, that it worked so well that I had a line of people at my booth and they had none. They got upset with me. Yeah. They were getting upset. Like I took away everybody to my booth. And I was using a number of these principles. Yeah. And when I tried to share it with them beforehand, oh, no, that doesn't work. You know what they did afterwards?
What's that?
They said to me, they said, will you share those leads with us? Now that you did all that work and you invested that time and money, now would you just give them to us?
No. Better question should have been, hey, can you teach us how to do that?
Exactly right. And so, like you said, when you say live it and use it everywhere, literally it will work. Yeah. And just about, hey, I have a friend of mine, and I didn't do it for him, but he learned what we do, used it in his funeral business.
Yeah.
A lot of people would never think of it that way, but he used it in his funeral and in the community he was in, he had a lock. And even to the point where there were senior living facilities in that town, they would tell their kids, when I die, you better take me to this funeral home. Now, how good is that, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, look, we're out of time now. So thank you, Dan, for being here today. If somebody was watching this and they say, I'd really like to reach out to Dan, how do I do that?
Well, there's a couple of ways. One is they can email info@greatresultsmarketing.com. That's info@greatresultsmarketing.com, and put in the subject line podcast. Okay. Once I see that, my staff will get alerted. They'll make sure I get it. Put that, and then in the email, say, hey, I'd like to schedule a call, or I'd like to talk with you, or I'd like to get more information, and we'll reach out to you. The other way is you can call my office direct. Some people just want to talk to somebody. So that's 440-783-1651. And again, if you don't get someone live, leave a message. And again, say, hey, I saw you on the podcast with Craig, and I'd like to get some more information.
Awesome. And if you're watching or listening to this, we're doing this live on YouTube right now, but some might be listening on their favorite podcast site. We have free gifts from Dan, from me, and past guests of this show. It's a free gift pack at mostincrediblemarketingshowever.com. That's mostincrediblemarketingshowever.com. We're live on YouTube every Wednesday. And you get us at youtube.com/@mostincrediblemarketingshow. And of course, if you're listening to it on your favorite podcast channel. So Dan, thanks again for being here. We'll do this again soon. And
Craig, could I just add one thing?
Sure.
You mentioned to them about going and getting a gift from me or for you. We have a number of very sharp folks there who are have gifts for people.
Yeah.
In my mind, I don't know why you wouldn't get all of them.
Right.
Okay? Seriously. They're free. These are very sharp people giving you some of their best stuff. I don't know why you wouldn't get them all. Okay? And then you get to know a little bit more about them and who they are and what they offer. Take all the free information you can get. Yeah. We have some really sharp people in this group.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're all past certified independent business advisors for Dan Kennedy and Bill Glazer. And so we had insider teachings from those two men, and brilliant stuff that we are so fortunate. So yeah. So one more time for them, it's at mostincrediblemarketingshowever.com. You get a free gift pack from Dan, myself, and past guests. Our early podcast shows had all of us on at the same time, and we've just recently changed formats. But Dan, thank you again. This was wonderful. Can't wait to have you back again. And thank you if you're listening or watching this show. We appreciate you, and keep coming back. Our next episode will be live next Wednesday, and of course it'll be on all the podcast channels on Thursday. That is all for today. Have a great day.
So long, everybody.